Good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming, first of all. Thanks for your interest in the Deaconess Foundation's Institute for Black Liberation. My name is Rudy Nickens. I serve as the Institute's director. I'm going to do a very short talk, just walk you through some of the key points of the Institute that I think you might find helpful, and then we'll open up the floor for Q&A for those of you who still are seeking information about it. You can the entire time that we're here, feel free to put comments or questions in the chat. With me is Cheryl Walker, who is the project manager for the Institute, and she'll be monitoring the chat in case I miss things. So while I'm doing this presentation, you can hold your questions, you can put them in the chat. It won't be long before we get to the Q&A part. So I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you for coming. And really, I can't say enough ways about how excited I am about this project. I hope you're coming with all kinds of questions and want to decide if this is something for you or members of your team or your family, or that's the point of this information session. So without any delay, I'll keep going. Unless, of course, the screen won't advance, then I won't. There you go. So the Deaconess Foundation's Institute for Liberatory for Black Liberation is one based on a goal, a vision, an idea that we want to create a community of leaders who are working toward and developing for themselves what we are calling a liberatory consciousness, which is a tool for social change. And it requires imagination, it requires thinking, it requires realizing that none of us have ever lived in a society that is free of oppression, free of anti-Blackness, free of white supremacy. So a lot of what we have to do is to be able to create a vision for ourselves and then to work to manifest that vision. So liberatory consciousness is the reimagination of one's assumptions and beliefs about, first of all, yourself, and then about others, and then interrupting those internal beliefs that can undermine our productive behaviors, our productive relationships, our productive activity. About the Institute itself, as a couple of underlying assumptions that are really important as you are thinking about whether or not it makes sense for you to participate or apply. Just want to be a little transparent about what we think. We have a fundamental belief in the inherent goodness of human beings. We have a fundamental belief that all of us, without exception, have the capacity for goodness, that our inherent relationship is connectedness, that there are no inherent conflicts between human beings, that we want the world to work right for everybody. We also believe that the effects of living in societies that have been characterized by white supremacy and pervasive anti-Blackness has caused great harm on all of our lives. In addition to the structural and systemic dimensions of racism and white supremacy, there's another important dimension, the dimension of internalized oppression. The Institute is based largely in believing that if we get a chance to do the work, to heal, to face, to deal with our personal work around the damages caused to us by living in these systems, and really reevaluating what our particular hurts and internalized racism like, that we could actually do something different. We are not saying, be real clear, that just doing the work on cleaning up or stepping outside or working against our personal internalized racism is sufficient for ending systemic oppression, but we think it's necessary. That the thing that is often missing in our attempts to complete liberation is that we haven't been given a chance to do the healing work required. If enough of us get to do that, then our work to change the society looks different, because we're operating from a different place and not one of being hurt. So internalized racism defines a society where racial prejudice thrives in politics, communities, policies, institutions, pop culture, et cetera. It is difficult, or I'll say impossible, for people of color to avoid absorbing some of the racist messages that constantly bombard them. for Black people in particular in our culture, many of the assaults against us have been in the form of our goodness, our intelligence, our beauty, and it has been displayed and portrayed in every dimension that you can imagine. Of course, some of that sometimes got inside and made us doubt who we are, doubt our brilliance, doubt our goodness, doubt our ability to think, doubt our value in the world. So part of internalized racism is to have honest chance to reflect on that for ourselves. Again, some of our beliefs, I mentioned the inherent goodness of people. We believe that racial oppression has done great harm to our lives and our communities. We also, this is really important, we believe that we are not our circumstances. We are not victims. We are better, we should never be defined by the conditions of our lives. You know, if we take this very simple statement back a few hundred years, and if we just change one word in a historical narrative, if we can say that our ancestors were not slaves, they never were slaves, that was not their identity, that was the circumstances and the conditions of their lives. It's a very different statement to say people were enslaved, held in conditions of forced servitude, than to say they identified or who they were with slaves. And so we get to do that throughout our entire existence, look at all the ways that we have been identified and labeled by something other than good, powerful, beautiful, intelligent human beings. And we have to look at what that has done to us. And we do this without blaming ourselves. I will say that anything that happened to us. The racism, the pervasive racism was harsh and hard, and we did the best we can. We still are doing the best we could in order to deal with it. So we don't have to blame ourselves, but we get to be responsible for how we change and take on the work of doing the healing that we need. So it is possible. It is highly, highly possible, we believe, to heal from all those hurts that we endured. So to this institute in particular, we decided, the Deaconess Foundation, and thank you, I should always credit Bethany Johnson-Javois, the CEO of Deaconess, for the chance to build this institute under the name and the banner of the Deaconess Foundation, whose many commitments include ending all forms of oppression and particularly healing Black peoples and making life better for everybody. So Deaconess is behind this 100%. So we believe that this institute should be made available to any people living within the Deaconess Foundation's sort of footprint area. So the Deaconess does this work in St. Louis metropolitan area and in Southwestern Illinois, and it has traditionally been that region. So we wanted to start this institute making it available to people who live in the region that is already defined by Deaconess's Foundation. To apply for this, we also decided to start this for people who are age 25 and older. There's no upper limit. And there's lots of reasons why we're not doing this institute yet for young people and young adults below the age of 25. But we just decided for the resources that we have, the capacities that we have, it's important to start to begin there. And that we ask, if you're going to apply for this institute, we want you to be able to commit to attending the entire institute. So the more important parts about that are, we want people who are seeking to heal from the damages caused by racism and white supremacy. We want people willing to face, feel, and do the interpersonal work required to heal. And we want people who can and will show respect to one another during our journey. Intense, I hope, really intense people to be able to fully immerse themselves in it, to be able to do it as a group, to be able to think about and support one another and learn and grow together and form, sort of a team around themselves. There's many things the Institute is in this, and I'll name a couple. So it's focused on healing hurts of racial oppression and developing that lens of liberatory consciousness. And that is the focus of each session in depth throughout the entire Institute. So when we were building this idea, we made it really clear that the Institute is not trying to usurp or occupy the lane, the space that is already being led brilliantly by organizations in our community to focus on activism. We are not going to be trying to enter that space. We are staying, if you can think about it in this concentric circle model of first the self, then the self and others, and then the community. We're going to actually do everything we can to stay in that first circle of dealing with ourselves. It is our belief as we do that interpersonal work and get stronger, clearer sense of our goodness and our power and the facts that have been done to us around the oppression, that we will be stronger, better advocates, stronger, better activists, stronger, better leaders. And that's the next sort of rippling. And many of the people that I think will come to the Institute are parts of the organizations doing a lot of great activism. And as we could guess, doesn't everybody need a place to go for themselves? Even the most brilliant, even the most effective leaders still need a place where they can go and do their interpersonal work. It's a lot of harshness out there in the world. So the Institute is built for that purpose, because there's a really great relationship between the two lanes of interpersonal work and activism. Details that you need to know if you're considering applying. So there are 3 5-day immersion experiences. These experiences will be held in person at the Deaconess Center for Wellbeing in St. Louis on 1000 North Vanderventer. They are scheduled from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., no later than 5 p.m., shall we say. The dates for the first one are September 18th to 22nd. The dates for the second immersion are January 29th to February 2nd, and the final immersion, the week of May 20th to 24th. In between the sessions, between the 5-day immersions, there will be a series of virtual activities that are done. So October, November, December, for instance, we won't come together in space, but we will come together online to have in-depth either webinars or coaching sessions or team meetings, just so we never lose momentum and that there's always something. These will be short, like 2-hour sessions, but we want to be able to maintain continuity between the 3 immersions. Finally, we say there's no cost to attend the Institute. Now, we know that's not exactly true. We all have a lot of busy lives, and we all have a lot of responsibility. So I'm pleased that the Deaconess Foundation is able to absorb the fees, all of the fees for building and attending and making this available to the community. We want as much as possible for money to never be an obstacle for people having full access and participation to what we hope is a meaningful experience. So the cost isn't dollars in the sense of you got to pay, but you do have to. It's a lot of time. We get that 15 days over the next 10 months, over a period of 10 months of in space. It's not lost on us that that's a major commitment, and that is the commitment that we're asking people to make in order to participate in this. And finally, if you're interested in applying, the application can be found on the Deaconess's website. The closing day for applications is June 26th. And we have a team of people who will review the applications and try to screen and decide, who to invite to interviews. Interviews will be held early August so that people can know by August 15th if they've been invited to the Institute. We're only allowing space for 25 people in the Institute. So hopefully a lot more people will apply, but we want to have as good a mix of people along their journey, around their age, around demographics, around identities within Blackness, because we have multiple identities in addition to the shared one of being Black humans. So we want to have as diverse a cohort as we possibly can. So our fabulous team of interviewers will help to make invitations so that we have a rich group of people in attendance. And the people that you will see at the Institute are me. I serve as the role of Institute Director, and I'll be part of the facilitation team as well. Our lead facilitators are, in addition to me, are Barbara Love, who is who's a world-renowned educator and activist and leader, and probably one of the first people who have done scholarly work on what it means to have to work on internalized racism and to develop this liberatory consciousness. Barbara comes out of UMass as Amherst, and she has been working with the Deaconess Foundation actually now for the last almost 2 years. In addition, is our other co-lead facilitator, Cliff Jones, out of Portland, Oregon. This man is one of the also great gifts to the world in terms of his experience and his mind and his competency and his commitment to Black people and Black liberation. And so that the facilitation team will be the three of us. And then you'll also see on site the entire time Cheryl Walker, who is our brilliant program manager. Cheryl's making sure that we stay on task, that we get things, make our deliverables, that you have everything you need, we have everything we need. It's been great to have Cheryl play this role. And so that's the entire overview. And I wanted to make sure that now I'm going to close this and see if there are anything that I didn't speak of that you want to bring into the room in the form of a question. You can use that thing to raise your hand if that's helpful, or turn off your camera, turn on your thing and just ask.
I do have one question, or that I would read from the chat. Sounds transformational and like a lot of sediment will arise. Any advice about mental wellness approaching this? That's the one. I'll stop there. The person had two questions, but that's the first one. Any advice about mental wellness approaching this?
Yeah, we want people to be really, really honest about where they are emotionally and to be able to say, this is not like we're going to just be flipping people around and hurting them, but we will be, putting theories and models out that require us to be agile in our thinking and willing to face our feelings. We are screening for that as well. This is really clear. This is not therapy. This is not meant to be therapy. This is not a substitute for therapy. This is actually our intention is to invite people who are in good shape, who want to take themselves to the next level around this work. If you think, if you have particular, and we actually do have someone part of our team. We invited someone part of our team who has that discipline, who is a therapist, who will help us to be able to ask the right questions or be in our interviews to make sure people get clear about that.
I'd like to jump in on that one as well. Good morning, everybody. That we have with intent on that second question around downtime provided during the sessions. The design team done an excellent job of thinking about both content and spaciousness so that there's an intensity as related to the work. And there is also respite opportunities within it to balance out the processing that does happen when you are combating and confronting and healing from internalized and attributed racism. Thanks for the question.
Thanks for that comment too, Bethany.
And there was a second part to it, but I believe Bethany just answered it. In terms of, well, between the two of you, will there be access to therapists as part of the session? And then how much downtime will be provided during the full week session? So I think both of you have covered that.
Yeah, none of us are interested in wearing people out. We're just, it's just not helpful. It's not thoughtful. We want people to why would you want to come to something where you're going to go home just beat up every day or worn out? So hopefully we have designed an institute that honors people's humanness as well as emotional capacities.
There are a couple of more questions in the chat. So one writer states that they're very energized by this work and want to know, can you apply if you work for a St. Louis-based nonprofit on behalf of work that you do for that organization that's in St. Louis? You do not live in St. Louis, but live in another state. And I guess the first question I would have to the writer, and you can respond to me privately, is that other state Illinois, or is it someplace else?
Yeah, so, and Bethany, chime in anything you want to say about this too, but, we were very intentional about wanting to make a resource for our community and to give people who live in this metropolitan area chance to get this work and the chance to get this opportunity. I don't think we thought about St. Louis companies who have remote employees wanting them to be a part of it. But my first thought is we're still going to hold to as much as possible it being for people who are in the area. I guess there's a private conversation to be had on anything, of course, and we would be happy to listen to you make the case for it. But that is who it was built for. I will say offline, a little bit that Deaconess Foundation, is able to do this because we were granted resource to build something specifically around the lane of Black health and wellness, Black liberation. And there are other foundations around the nation who are also doing this work as well. And we've been, as a cohort of foundation leaders, we've been talking a lot about how we're approaching this work. And there does seem to be a lot of interest around this topic nationally as we've met with folk. And I suspect there will be replications of it eventually around, but we are keeping ours as a local project.
Thank you. And it does turn out that the person just recently moved away from here to Charlotte, North Carolina. The next question was, has this training been offered before?
So Barbara Love, Cliff Jones, and I have worked together for decades. And we have been really, really, really committed to Black liberation and doing the work of healing the hurts of racism and deep dives into internalized racism together for decades. This particular training is designed custom for this initiative. There are pieces of it that we have done together and separately over the years. I mean decades, like we have been doing this work together since the 80s. So there are pieces of it that we each have individually done, and then some that we've done together. This is a unique moment. This is the first time that the three of us have been under one umbrella to build a specific program for this case, for Deaconess Foundation to do this work. So some of it is, and so no is the answer. The honest answer is no, this has never been done like this before. And it's not all brand new information. There's lots of it that we have interacted with for a long time.
Thank you. There's one more at this point, and which I'll read. And then I'll also just let you know that we're happy to hear your voices as well. But if you're more comfortable with the chat, that's fine as too. So it reads, it will likely be difficult to get a diverse cohort due to the extreme time requirements. With that in mind, it seems that people with limited economic means or who do not have the privilege of jobs that will allow the time off makes this somewhat exclusionary from the beginning. Can someone speak to this?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And we've been thinking about that a lot, a whole lot, because our commitment is still, one of our commitments is still to make sure that finances are not an obstacle for participation in the Institute. And the things that we thought about in advance before we even went out the door were, well, we may need to provide resources for childcare, and we may need to provide transportation or elder care resources. And we thought about, that need being real. And then as we built this, 15 days from your job may be something that a lot of folks don't have support from their organizations or leave balances or the kind of thing that makes sense. So we are, we haven't made a decision yet about how to deal with it. But if that is what comes up as a part of the application process, and there's a need for that level of scholarship, we actually did a little bit of budget work last week on what that might cost if every single person needed that. So it's not off the table, And please bring that forward in your application if you decide to apply to the Institute. And I spoke without authority from the board or to say that we might find more money to make that possible. But we're taking this under serious consideration and know that that might be something we have to do, that we have to help with. Did I say anything out of school, Bethany?
No, it is in discussion.
Okay, great.
Okay, that was the last question in the chat. And so again, I would open up to add your voices to the room if you'd like.
Clearly it's a significant investment in each person that'll be participating. Could you speak somewhat to what outcomes you might like to see from the participants after they've completed the process?
Yeah, thanks, Howard. Absolutely. So part of the work will be every person's asked to work to create their individual action plan. Like, so what is it that you're going to do in whatever your sphere of influence is, be it, organization, community, wherever it is that you work and operate, what it is that you think now with this lens, of liberatory consciousness, how will you put it into action in the community? So that is one of the things. One of the other pieces that we talk about all the time is, if we do this a few times, which we hope to be able to do this a few times at least, and have dozens or hundreds or whatever of Black people throughout our community who have done this work or engaged in this work. And it's not, hopefully you don't treat it like it's a one and done thing, like you're a part of an ongoing movement of folks doing this work in as long as you can. Wouldn't it be nice if there's nothing that happened in this community, no decisions that are made that affect the lives of Black people, where people with this, without some of us being in the room to influence that, to be able to offer the perspective, to be able to interrupt the racism and the internalized racism, to be able to provide leadership and counseling and coaching wherever possible. So it is hopefully a big change vision that we seek. It's individual healing and figuring out what your personal work is, but also how will you show up in the world and what can you do to make a difference.
To make it even more audacious, I'd like to add there that the topic of liberation is not a word that we throw out, although that word is being thrown out quite a bit in these days. Deaconess has a vision to think about what health, healing, and wholeness and perfect soundness look like with a 100-year trajectory, 7 generations of commitment. So starting today, with those of us who are here alive and remain, we're thinking about what that intergenerational handoff needs to be and how we set up for that new future, both reversing the things that have happened, undoing some of those things, and vision casting. The ability to cast vision, one has to be free, and I learned that from Rudy Nickens. And so we're really having an expectation that those who commit to this level of time, and I would encourage everyone who's listening either today or in the future, it is an incredible ask and you deserve it. So figuring out a way with which this time is centered around you for your well-being, it is a commitment, and it's your time and your season to consider how that happens with accommodations that need to be made for all. So, we ask you take this seriously because we do have an expectation that hand in hand, the revolution and the evolution of who we need to be, especially in this region, we're going to be expecting that leaders that come through this process make even a more deep and profound commitment in the power of togetherness for Black liberation across this region, and why not the world, because we have power to do so.
Amen.
And we have another one in the chat. This is pretty unusual and powerful. Thank you for investing in this work. Is this primarily personal, or how can someone present this as an organizational so that they may get the justifications they may need to have this not be time off, but as an organizational development investment?
I think it's a great question. And I was thinking, in my, many roles as a employer or a supervisor or a manager of people over the years, I would be delighted for people on my team to get a chance to do this work. And this will make you a better team member, make you a better leader for the organization. The work, the work is designed to be personal, but isn't it, it's just about things that it's about doing this personal work so you can have a bigger impact. So whatever organization that you're part of, that you're working with or for, will definitely, including, as I say, my family's got a lot of benefit of never having been to one of these institutes, but they sure get a lot of benefit from my participation in it. So everything you touch will get a benefit from it. Your family, your community, your workplaces. I think that just because you'll have a different idea about life and yourself and this work, how you show up at work and what you do for your organization can be different. And we're willing to talk to any organization, any managers or bosses if they have questions about the institutes. That's part of one of our offerings in this period. If someone says my boss doesn't quite get it and won't approve me to have this leave time to be a part of it because they can't make the connection between how this benefits whatever organization you work with or for, feel free to have them reach out to me or Cheryl or Bethany. We will be very happy to answer those questions the best we can.
And the other thing that I would add to that too, and I thank you for the question, because it's also something that we could probably craft 2 or 3 paragraphs to give to everyone. So if you feel you need it to give it to whoever to justify your participation and the time off, et cetera, we will certainly do that as well.
Great.
And again, that's it for the chat. Anyone else in the room?
Well, thank you, all of you for coming. Your questions actually have helped us already. So everything we do should be a two-way thing where we're imparting information and getting information. And just the questions that you brought help us to make this an even stronger, more powerful experience for people. So thank you for showing up first and then for asking questions. And if you have any more information you need, feel free to just send us a note. Happy to address them. And what Cheryl said, we will take as an action item to put together a little document that helps people to take to their employers if they need that piece of support in their application. And yes, another question I see. Shannon Dickerson has a hand up.
Good morning. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, just fine. Thank you.
Hi. I had a question. I saw in the application that there's an optional question about the role of faith in Black liberation. And I was curious to know if there was a particular faith-based lens that the Institute was approaching things from.
Well, the Deaconess Foundation is rooted, as a faith-based organization, right? We were created, and it's part of our mission is to continue to support and honor what we believe as faith. We are not denominational in this institution, and we don't define faith as any particular way of being or walking or thinking about that. But we do believe in the power of faith. We believe in both the healing power of faith, the liberatory power of faith. So yes, we will make sure that there is ways that all of us, wherever we are, from completely, I'm a 7-day-a-week church-going human being to I'm an agnostic human being, but I'll process faith the way it means to me. That is sort of important. And it was presented as an optional question on purpose. For some people, that really speaks to them. Like, this is the thing I want to put in the center of my journey is faith. And for some people, not so much yet. So we want to make room for people wherever they are on their journey of faith.
I'm gonna ask this with my voice because I can't type fast enough on my phone. So excuse me, I've enjoyed all these answers, and I appreciate how thoughtful everyone has been in crafting this. So I imagine that I'd like to be able to use this framework personally to lean into regional work and advancing things regionally. I'm always connected to or thinking about our regional frameworks, like Ford through Ferguson and other things. Is there a part in the curriculum where you make that leap from personal to like, okay, this is what it takes as a leader in this space to start thinking about this, like, or is there a part of the curriculum that kind of levels up to like, this is how you move systems or how you might apply this, not just personally, that go like from personal to system level work or thinking, or anything that has to do like very like squarely, explicitly with like organizational leadership in moving this or implementing some of the work?
I love the question too. Thank you. And with any luck, the cohort, the members of this institute will be all over the place and where they are in their journeys and their level of leadership and their level of activism. So part of what each one of us will do is to map out from where we are, where we want to go next. What does our action plan include? As I said in the beginning, and I really do mean to be intentional about, we're not trying to take space up in the area of Black activism. There's so much good work that's going on around there. However, what we believe is the space of Black activism and activists as well deserve a chance to do this work, to be able to do it even better. And that, I think, I know that the folks at Deaconess Foundation, we all, fashion ourselves as activists in addition to this. And so why would we expect, of course, all of our work to be better as a result of having these resources, but there'll be conversations about leadership throughout the Institute, but we're committed to staying in that first lane of self as much as more than anything throughout this Institute.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Anybody else? I see no other hands. Well, then, anything else in the chat, Cheryl, that I'm not seeing?
No.
Okay, great. So with that, I will then say again, my final thank you to everyone for showing up. I'm so excited about what we're about to do. This is hopefully gonna just change a lot of lives and impact our community in ways that we can't even predict all of yet. But I invite you, each of you, to consider it for yourselves and to consider sharing it with people in your circle, your organization, and your family that you think this might be a good fit. There's a lot of people who have been involved with thinking about it. One of them on this call that I did, whose name I didn't call out, but Steve Parrish is in the room, so I can't not say appreciate. Steve's been with me as a thought partner around this institute since before it was even ever really conceived. Steve and I were both hanging out at the World Conference on Racism, Xenophobia, and other related intolerances in Durban, South Africa in 2001, when the need for this first got sort of born and planted, and it's taken a while to get it up and running. But I just want to say I'm really excited about it, and I hope that you are as well. So thank you for your showing up, and I look forward to the next steps in our journey together. Anything else, Bethany, you want to close with, or?
No, I'm just grateful, and thank you for those that have paid attention, spread the word. And thank you for your time. Yeah.
All right. Cheryl, anything else you need to say?
No, just appreciate everyone's attention and the wonderful and thoughtful comments and questions in the chat, and just look forward to next steps.
All right. Be well, all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Thank you.